Hey everybody, my name's Ian and welcome to From Newton Band, and in this short video we're going to look at how to use a plectrum or a pick. If you're new to strumming, I would start off with a thin plectrum, so something like a 46 or a 70 or a 60. This is a 70. The thinner the plectrum, the more trebly the sound. So this is a 46, this is a 71, and this is an 81. Very subtle difference, but they do get slightly warmer as the plectrum gets thicker. So how do we hold a plectrum? So take your fingers like this, put your thumb over the top, so you have this position, and just put the plectrum into the side. Now, the point of the plectrum follows the point of the fingernail at the back, and you put the plectrum over the top like that. So let's look at how to hold a pick from this angle, as I think this is the best vantage point. Apologies if the camera moves, as I'm doing this with one hand, as the tripod couldn't get in a good position. So how do we hold the plectrum? So we take our hand like this, we place our thumb on top, and the plectrum is going to go underneath the thumb like this, pointing towards the string. So we're going to strum like this with our wrist. So if you're starting out, I'd recommend a thin plectrum because these tend to flop over the strings a little bit easier than harder plectrums. So there's my position there. The point of the plectrum follows the nail on the finger. Okay, and the point of the plectrum there touches the strings at right angles. So when you do a down strum, just let the plectrum flop. Don't hold it rigidly like this, else you won't get a great sound. So let the plectrum just flop between the thumb and finger. On an up strum, you have to tilt the hand slightly to get the plectrum to flop upwards. Now you could just start on down strums, get used to that feeling, and then do some up strums. Now I've got a great video on strumming patterns which I'll link above, and that shows you quaver and semi-quaver strumming patterns. So if I was to do a quaver strumming pattern, it would look like this: down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. Semi-quaver, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down. So keep the forearm and the wrist relaxed. Okay. So when I was playing funky styles, the plectrum in my hand would sometimes go to the side like this. And that creates a sort of scrapey sound on the lower strings. So avoid letting the plectrum slide. Try and keep it at right angles there, or to the strings. Now when you first start out, it's very normal for the plectrum to end up on the side like this, and all you got to do is just readjust the plectrum. Even now, sometimes the plectrum will slide out of my fingers at a weird angle. I just have to readjust my fingers as I play. That's totally normal. I would say some people try and hold the plectrum like this with two fingers and a thumb. Trying to avoid that, because in time you can use these fingers to play the other strings, which is called hybrid picking. And so if you're tied up another finger doing that, then you've only got one, or this finger to play with, or the little finger to play with. So I'll try and, as much as you can, hold it with the thumb and first finger. Okay, let's get on to picking then. So let's talk about now if you want to play a melody or do a guitar solo or some scales using the plectrum, and what's the best technique. So again, we're going to try and hold the point of the plectrum at sort of 90 degrees to the string. And we can do down strokes. And we can do up strokes. So if it's a simple melody, you might be able to play
just a downstroke if it's a slow melody. If it's a little bit quicker, you might want to play down and up. Okay? So this would be the technique to use. And you just move from the wrist. Again, don't hold the plectrum too tightly. And don't move too far across the strings. We want to be as efficient as possible. Another thing to bear in mind is don't put the plectrum too far past the string, because you're putting extra resistance there. We want to just skim on top of the string. Again, I'm doing short movements up and down, and I'm not going too far past the string. Try and skim on top. You might find if the plectrum's angled downwards, it creates a bigger, warmer sound. And if you go on to say string 3, you can pick downwards like that, and that's called a rest stroke onto the next string. If I play like this, you can hear the sound changes. So if you're playing like a slow melody and you want to get a really nice warm sound, you could play downwards like that. You get a nice big warm sound. If you're playing faster, you'll have to do short movements like that. Now with technique, you'll see that all great guitar players play slightly differently. So George Benson sort of has his plectrum almost tilting upwards like this. Other players will play across like that. Some players will play almost like that. So you've got to find a way that suits you. But I would go with those guidelines for the minute, and hopefully you'll get on with that position. And another thing to bear in mind is to rest the hand on the strings, and that acts as an anchor point. Some guitarists have sort of a floating wrist. If you check out players like Borelli Legren, jazz player, or Joe Pass, and sometimes Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour, these guys tend to play with the wrist above, and that can give you a nice relaxed wrist and get really fast. The only downside to that is you get sometimes the strings will ring out if you're not very careful with the left hand muting. So most guitar players will probably mute with the right hand here by resting the palm over the strings. Okay.
So thanks very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this short video on how to get started on the guitar, how to use a pick. Please comment, like and subscribe below, and tell me what you're struggling with, what you'd like to learn next. And also click on the link below, which will take you through to From Beginner to Band's homepage, where you can subscribe to my email list and be notified of any new upcoming videos. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.